My husband and I finally invested in a new camera for the channel and a new microphone for the channel, and I think it may in fact be the best decision we've ever made. Today I'm going to walk you through some of our first impressions with the Osmo Pocket 3, which I'm recording on right now, hence the box example. I kept telling my husband all week I wouldn't be able to believe what this camera was capable of until it was in my hands. It lived up to all those expectations and more. There's so much room to grow with this camera as I learn how to do different things like color grading and just making the most of all of its capabilities. I'm very excited about that. So without further ado, you can see that I'm recording right here. This is how it came out of the box, and I don't anticipate I'll be doing any special processing after recording today because I was so happy with how it looked to start. I think the colors look great. I think it's clean and crisp. This room has a much darker lighting situation than some other places I can record in, like our toy and hobby shop. Right now I have a bedroom lamp on, my main lamp on. I've not done any color correcting to these, and they're both fairly warm lights. And then of course it's dark outside because I'm recording this at like 8:20 p.m. You don't necessarily need to have the tripod attachment on it in order for it to stand up on its own, even with active tracking enabled. As you can see here in these clips, I was able to get it in some very tight spaces, and I didn't have any issues with it tipping or doing anything unusual like that. I definitely see this opening up a lot of opportunities because it's so small. A traditional tripod is much more bulky. Even if we were to use the tripod that this is on, I think we would still be able to fit it in a lot of spaces we couldn't typically because it's more of like a shelf type tripod. It's much smaller. But that being said, the only time that I really feel like the tripod is necessary is if you're using the extended battery handle, because of course it becomes a lot more top heavy with that in mind. And so I do think that the tripod helps add some stability there, but I don't think it's necessary right out of the box just on its own. I think you get access to some really unique recording areas you couldn't typically record in otherwise with that in mind. We did run into one issue right out of the box with this camera, and that is that our SD card may not be the right one for this camera, and so we keep getting notices that it may stop recording or like slow down. I haven't noticed anything like that yet, and it has been recording pretty heavily today, and I played around with some of the footage on my computer and I didn't see any issues with it, so I don't know how much of an issue that's actually going to be over time. But I did notice that we get a very consistent warning on the screen that can be a little bit annoying, and I haven't found a way to turn it off. And I think the only way to do so is going to be to get a different SD card for the camera. And at that point, if I'm not seeing any actual issues from it, I don't see a reason to invest in it, so I'm probably just going to live with that. Now this camera, we took it for a walk in what I would consider to be actually perfect conditions to try this out in, because we were hearing that it can be a little washed out in bright lighting, and we wanted to see for ourselves. Today was a perfect sunny day. We went ahead and took our dog for a walk, and I did feel like there were certain circumstances where it was a little bit washed out, but if you were in a situation where like the sun was behind our head, it still like adjusted to the front of the faces without any problems. It just seems like if you have sun shining on your face, it's more of an issue. And there's two things I'm going to do to address this, one of which is lowering some of the settings so that the camera has less range in those super bright situations and it can't like wash out. But additionally, I invested in a secondary adjustable ND filter that can hopefully help tone down the harsh lighting in certain situations, if I'm understanding it correctly. If I'm not, somebody correct me because I'm learning about all of this. I've never messed with cameras like this before. Now when it comes to the filters, of course this camera comes with a lot of attachments if you get the creator combo, which we did because we felt like the value for the money was really good. What I really love about this is the fact that ignore the fact that I already have dog hair in it. Our dog is just wonderful. I love her. She's beautiful. You'll see her in this video. You're going to notice that the case the camera comes in has specific spots inside of it with magnetic holders for different lenses, and we have the wide angle lens here, which I'll try for you guys here in a second so you can see what that looks like. But we also have a secondary spot down here for a ND filter, black mist filter, whatever secondary lens you decide to use. I really love this, and actually I've been raving about this all day, the fact that basically everything I need, including the microphone, which can literally just clip to the top of this, everything can be put together just in this little holder right here, and I don't have to take anything else with me if I don't want to. I have the camera, I have the microphone, I have any lenses I might need, I have the additional battery, all of it can fit right here in one piece, and that makes it really convenient to just pick up and take with you. Now mind you, these are all conclusions I've come to in the last 5 hours since picking this up, so this is all from a beginner's perspective. I'm not sure what happened with my tracking here, but this is a good thing to touch on. I think it's because I've been like moving around a lot. If you look down here, I've got some notes for this video. So I tend to like to be closer to the top of the screen up here, and I see that it moved, but I can use the joystick to put myself back where I am wanting to be tracked, and it will continue to track me in that spot, and I think that's super, super useful. I can think of a lot of situations already to implement this auto tracking in as I make a lot of videos on my own. I think this will really help improve the dynamic quality to videos going forward. Let's talk about the noise cancellation and the microphones. I'm going to switch the microphone to the one in the camera for you real quickly. And that's really just as simple as turning it off. You don't need a middleman receiver for these microphones if you use this camera. Up to 2 of them at a time can attach to the camera without a receiver. So I thought that was really useful. Let me turn this back on. So as you could hear, the internal microphones on the camera itself were actually really good. There's 3 of them on there, and you can kind of adjust which direction you want to be recording your audio in. Now let's talk about the noise cancellation, because this DJI Mic 2 that came with the camera and the creator combo, I was much more impressed with than I thought I was going to be. As you guys can hear now, it's pretty decent. I like more punchy audio, not condensed, but like I like more punchy audio, clear audio than what I feel like I get down here, but I do still feel like hands-free this is a pretty good microphone to use. I just prefer to hold it in front of my face. You guys can let me know what you prefer, but this is what it sounds like down here, hands-free, not right up next to my face. That's just a personal preference thing, but I'm open to changing that if you think one sounds better than the other. Now, when it comes to the noise cancellation, I'm actually not a big fan of it. I'm not in a really good spot to show you guys what that sounds like. Alexa, play Elvis on Spotify.
This is Elvis Presley from Spotify.
Okay, so you can probably hear there's some Elvis going in the background now. I'm going to turn on noise cancellation so you can see what the difference is between those two. Okay, so this should be with the noise cancellation on, and I wasn't really a big fan of it. I felt like it warbled the audio, and I'll give you another example of this from when we were sitting in our car ride on the way home. It says to press and hold the link button for a minute and then press the power button. Hey, and so this should be noise canceling now. So Michael, if you want to try talking real quick.
So this is the Mic 2 with active noise canceling on in a busy freeway setting while driving.
Alexa, shut up. So those are 2 different examples of the noise cancellation, and I wanted to get a secondary one here at home because my husband mentioned that maybe it was just the situation, but I feel like with something like that, to be practical on a regular basis, it can't be situation dependent, it just needs to be reliable if it's going to be a thing. And I wasn't a big fan of the noise cancellation, and I feel like I would have had to spend more time editing to try to make it sound better, and I don't want that. So there was a really big strength here. This microphone by default does a really good job of just naturally canceling noises, and I think this clip right here is a really good example of that. When we were driving down the highway on the way home, we had the window open just to kind of test the microphone as a stress test. Without noise cancellation on, you can hear from the internal camera just how bad the wind situation was in that car at the moment with the windows open, and then you can hear when I turn this on, and it is night and day difference. I'll just go ahead and play that for you.
So now we're going to see some really cool terrain down here.
So this is with the DJI Mic 2 with the window open on the freeway. I'm kind of holding it like a couple inches from my face right now. Lots of really cool things to see. So with that in mind, I think this microphone on its own does a really wonderful job as a standalone plug-and-play microphone. I wouldn't mess around with extra noise cancellation. I would just use it as it is. I think it even did a really good job of picking Michael up in certain situations where he was sitting right next to me in the car and he was nearby enough that you could catch the audio. I think we still will invest in a secondary mic for him at events and things so that we can catch both people's audio pretty clearly. Now let's get on to the gimbal, because the gimbal was the first thing that we noticed when we pulled it out of the box and it started like doing its little wavy thing when we turned it on. I was really impressed with this. This was the part where I told Michael if I didn't have it in my hands and like get to play with it myself, I wasn't going to be able to really believe it. The only other product that I can think of that's done that is the Quest 3 with the pass-through, where it's like you can kind of try to explain it to somebody, but until it's in their hands and you get to play with it, you're not really going to be able to wrap your head around it. This was amazing. The fact that it is so stable in such a small form factor little thing, stability has been a huge issue for us for a long time now. I actually remember when we went to MBVA last year, one of the main comments on our video was, the stabilization on this made me sick. So I've been thinking about that comment since then, trying to figure out what the solution was, because I know that as a content creator myself, I hate picking up extra peripherals. I want things to be grab and go, and so getting a gimbal for my phone didn't feel like the most practical solution for me. It was just going to keep me from wanting to create videos. This is such a form factor, easy to grab, ready to go thing that I am just blown away with how well the gimbal stabilizes. I think this camera is great for as somebody who's coming in from just using my cell phone. And in case you're wondering which cell phone I'm comparing this to, this is an S21 FE. So I've been using this for, well, since last year, and I have never really been a big fan of the camera, but I was working with what I had on hand and trying to push the boundaries of that first. So let's look at the wide angle lens that I mentioned earlier. Like I said, it's just in a little magnetic holder in the back of this. Oh, was that what caused that earlier? Apparently, if you're using the face tracking and you hold a product in front of it, I think maybe that throws off the face tracking. Let's put this wide angle lens on so you can get a feel for yourself. So this is without the wide angle lens, and this is with the wide angle lens. You can now see a lot more of my mattress than you could before. I really like this because when we do take photos and videos in our store, we've always tried, for advertisement purposes, at the very least, maybe not in our usual YouTube videos, to use wide angle lens photos of the store on our phone, because it makes the small space feel a lot bigger. If you are new to our channel, we own a 200 square foot toy and hobby store in Oregon, and we're working with a very small, very narrow space. So something like this will really help us kind of encapsulate more of the store in the same kind of 16 by 9 setup. I think this is going to be really useful, and I'm really glad they just included this by default. It's a really practical addition, and that brings me on to like just the other attachments, from the tripod to the extended battery handle to the wide angle lens to they have this little guy here if you don't want the extra battery. That I think this may be the most impractical of everything that I've got in this bundle, but you do need it to add the tripod attachment on if you decide to. And that's just like a little tiny handle extender. It's a little bit shorter than the battery one, but I don't see myself using that because I love that this has extra battery life in it. For instance, I've been recording 20 minutes now, and I've only seen my charge go down 3%, which is insane to me. And if you've been looking at this camera already, you probably already know that this thing can charge to 80% in 16 minutes, which for somebody who likes to create videos in the most convenient way possible, this is a game changer. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove this so you don't have to look at my clutter the whole time. We tried to keep the clutter out of the frame. I felt like all of the attachments were super, super practical, and I love that they've included an additional spot in here for a secondary lens, because I already have that on the way. I've seen the situations where that might be practical. I'm a very practical person. I don't like bringing more than I need, so to know I have everything I need in a little compact form is fantastic. If we're traveling to events and I know, okay, well, I'm going to have my hands full, I don't want this to get broken, it comes with a little bag to put it in, comes with the cable you need to move everything over, and I mean, even the manuals, I'm not a big fan of finding manuals because they're always big and clunky, and I don't like throwing them away, but I don't like having them either. Even the manuals, like this is the extent of all the manuals for this camera, and those can literally just fit right in the bag that it comes in. So I'm really, really, really surprised with the practicality and like real thoughtfulness that went into this device. I think that as somebody that doesn't like to use a lot of extra pieces if I don't have to, this is great. And I think including a microphone like this was a fantastic way to kind of get people introduced to just how good the quality is. I know we will definitely be picking up a second one because we have a couple situations where we feel like it would be a really practical addition, not to mention the internal like recording and things like that I don't plan to get into, but it is there if you want it. This is all surface level impression of these two devices, but I think there is so much you could read into them and like be amazed by, even outside of my perspective. So definitely keep watching all the videos. When it comes to the zoom feature, I kind of came across it by accident. I didn't actually expect this to be much of a zoom camera because I could see where it's just practical in like a normal like set it down and go kind of thing. But it does zoom a little bit, not very far, but when it does zoom, it's good. The quality is retained, and you know, it doesn't zoom much, but I do like that it stays nice when it does. I think I've touched on all the main points that I wanted to. The creator combo itself without the SD card was $670. I feel like this is a very fair value. When I saw the ad for this 2 weeks ago, I swear I was blown away. Like, it was revolutionary. I can't believe this has existed for a year and I didn't know about it, because this is everything I was looking for in a camera. Now, of course, I'm going to continue to update you guys as I use this camera more and maybe come across some of the things I don't like about it or some of the things that I do. And this is going to be the camera that I do all of the recording on our channel for going forward. I'm somebody that doesn't like to do a whole ton of post-processing if I don't have to, so most of our videos, you can assume going forward, are going to be just coming straight out of this camera at 4K 24, and you can assume that that's like the best example you can get of how this camera works. As far as all that goes, the overall consensus I have here is that this is a really great camera. It leaves me room to improve my skills if I decide to pursue color grading or doing anything like that, but even just out of the box, I think it did amazing and it was worth every penny. If you're new to the channel, my husband and I are 24-year-old entrepreneurs. Wait a minute. If you're new to the channel, I'm a 24-year-old entrepreneur. I just realized that my husband is a 25-year-old entrepreneur. The point is, we're a young married couple that started a business together, grew that to 9 different streams of income, including content creation, and we share the entire journey here on YouTube, from the financial side to the goods, the bads, and everything in between. We try to be super transparent about what we learned along the way. So if that sounds like something that you're interested in, subscribe, stay tuned, and hopefully I will see you in the next much better quality video.